In this video I want to show you how to make a pinch pot. And so we're just going to start with a little ball of clay, and before I start pinching it I'm going to fuss with this ball of clay a little bit, try to make it a little bit closer to being a sphere of clay. So I'll try to push down on points that are sticking out, and try to make it a little bit more round and even before I begin making a pinch pot out of it. And that's close enough. First thing I'm going to do to make my pinch pot is I'm just going to push my thumb straight into the ball of clay, and then I'm going to rotate the clay a little bit and push in. Just keep rotating and pushing straight in. So I'm just pushing straight down. I'm not pushing towards the side of the pinch pot. When I feel like my thumb is gotten pretty close to my palm, I'm shooting for about 1/4 inch, I'm going to stop pushing in, and I'm going to start pinching the pinch pot with the tip of my thumb and the tip of my finger. So like this, not like this, not with the flat part, with the tip. And I'm going to pinch close to the bottom, but not right on the bottom, in a circular pattern. And I'll kind of scratch showing about where. Okay, so I'm going to be pinching along that line, just lightly, lots of light pinches going in a circle. Every time I pinch the clay, it makes it a little bit more thin there. And after I've gone around once or twice, the clay is now thin at the bottom, and it's also thin along this line where I've been pinching. Now that I've thinned that area out, I'm going to start pinching a slightly larger circle, getting closer to the pinch pot, which is called the lip of the pinch pot. And I'll pinch around in a circle just a little bit closer to the top. As I do it, it makes the pinch pot thinner and it starts getting bigger. Once I've thinned that area out, I'll pinch a little bit closer to the top again. And when I get close to the top, I like to switch and put my thumb on the outside, but whatever's comfortable for you. And we're going to leave our pinch pots about 1/4 inch at the top, because in the next video I'll be showing you how to join the two pinch pots together. I'm dabbing just a teeny bit of water on the top. I'm going to smooth it out by gently pressing down on the lip of the pinch pot here up on the rim. So if we get any cracks, we can just smooth over those. And there's my pinch pot. In our next video I'm going to show you how to join two pinch pots together. And the reason we do that is it makes it so we can make things that are larger that are still hollow inside and they're not too thick. Before I show you how to join two pinch pots together, I want to show you how to make slip. Slip is just watery clay, and we use it kind of like glue for clay. So when we join clay together, as we'll be joining our two pinch pots together, we're going to make scratch marks on the surface, and then we're going to paint slip over it. And one way to make slip is just to put a little bit of water in a pinch pot. I'm just going to dribble a little water in with my sponge, and then take your paintbrush and just start swishing that water around, kind of scrubbing at the sides of the pinch pot. With that water, as you scrub at the sides, it'll start to dissolve some of the clay on the inside of the pinch pot and put it into the water. And as you do that, eventually you'll start getting kind of thickened watery clay. And so this is already nice slip, perfect for joining things together with. In this video I want to show you how to join two pinch pots together. So in a previous video I showed you how to make a pinch pot, and I've made two pinch pots here. You want to make sure that the lip or the top of the pinch pot is not too thin. This is about 1/4 inch. If it's much thinner than that, when I press the two sides together, they'll tend to collapse. And I've already made myself some slip, as I showed you in a previous video, for joining these together. I'm going to use my paperclip tool that we made to score the top surface of the pinch pots where I want to join them together. So scoring clay is basically just putting lots of scratch marks in clay. And notice I like to do my score marks in the direction of the clay wall. I found that seems to help them attach together better than if I score like that. So notice how I'm scratching up the clay really thoroughly. And I do that on both sides. So I'm going to score both of these. Whether you're joining pinch pots together or you're adding things onto your pinch pots, you always want to go through this process of scoring, painting some slip-on. Clay's kind of sticky when it's wet, so we can push two things together and they sort of feel like they're stuck together, but when the clay dries out, pieces will start falling apart if we don't follow this process. So thoroughly scratch things up and then paint some slip on the two surfaces. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to press these surfaces together firmly but gently. I can use my thumbs to help kind of push them together. Notice you can see a little bit of slip oozing out through the crack. That's a good sign that we put on enough slip. And now I'm going to take my popsicle stick wood modeling tool and I'm going to make some deep scratch marks going across the seam. Some people call this stitching the clay together. So I'm going to stitch the clay together. That helps it join just a little bit more thoroughly. And now I'm going to roll out a little piece of coil, and I'm going to put this coil on top of the seam just to add a little bit of extra clay. So I'll just put this on top of my seam. And now I'm going to squish a little bit of this clay in both directions across the seam. So I'm going to just use my thumb and my finger. Some people like to use a wood tool like the end of a popsicle stick for this to kind of squish the clay in both directions. But my thumb and my finger I think is a little bit faster. Whenever possible, I like to use my own hands for my tools. I just find I can work more quickly with my hands than I can a lot of times with another tool. Okay, so I've kind of squished that seam in both directions, put that coil across the seam, and then now I'm going to start to smooth out the clay. I would like to make it smooth enough that I can no longer tell where the seam was before I started. So it doesn't take very long, but I'm going to spend a little bit of time smoothing over the seam, trying to make it disappear. Now it's important to remember that once we've joined two pinch pots together, we have trapped air inside the pinch pots. And before we finish our project, it's really important that we poke a hole in it somewhere to let that air out. Otherwise, when it goes in the kiln and the air gets really hot, it'll want to expand, and if there's nowhere for that air to escape, it will cause the project to blow apart. So whenever we join pinch pots together to create a hollow form, we need to create a venting hole. The reason why we do this is because if we made a project this big out of solid clay, it would be too thick, and when clay's too thick, it breaks apart in the kiln. So by creating a pinch pot, we can make a larger project that's not too thick. And my pinch pot's getting pretty well smoothed out now. I can't really see where the seam is anymore. I could spend some time and get this really, really smooth, but I don't want this video to go too long, so I'm not going to go too crazy. The next thing I want to show you really quickly is that we can distort the shape of this pinch pot significantly because the air inside it will support it and hold it up. So right now it's kind of a baseball sort of form. If I want to make it into more of a football shape, I can start padding on it. So I've gone from being kind of baseball shaped to sort of a football shaped. If I was making a head, I might pat down on the top of one of those pointy parts. I could flatten it out a little bit. and create a little bit more of a shape for a head. If I was making an animal body, a cow or something, maybe I'd look at it and decide that the cow's back is not disarched, so maybe I want to flatten out that side. You can distort this form quite a bit and turn it into something else.